Although they followed the same philosophy, Marcus Aurelius was an emperor and Epictetus was born a common slave. This proves that Stoicism isn't just for a privileged elite, but is truly meant for all of us. A core tenet of this philosophy is the capacity to cultivate a serene mind. In fact, the Stoics believed we achieve genuine happiness and inner peace when we live in a state of flourishing and fulfillment. If you desire true tranquility and wish to weave this mental state into your daily life, I invite you to watch this video until the end. We will cover 3 essential parts. In the first 2, we explore the thoughts and habits of Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius. And in the third part, I will present practical exercises you can apply in your own life. The journey to a balanced and undisturbed mind begins now. And if this is the first time we're meeting, here we discuss root-level Stoicism in a very practical and applicable way. So like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. This way, we have the opportunity to serve more people with this transformative knowledge. Part 1. Epictetus. In his teachings, Epictetus emphasizes that we should prize peace of mind above things like wealth, social standing, and even our physical appearance. Epictetus teaches that mental calm is not the result of trying to control external events, but is achieved through how we choose to think. His primary work, the Discourses, was transcribed by one of his most devoted students, Arrian. He also compiled the Encheirodon of Epictetus, a concise and readable handbook that was even used by soldiers before going into battle. From these sources, we discover how Epictetus handled worries, stressful situations, and daily challenges. This offers us invaluable lessons on maintaining a tranquil mind, regardless of the adversities life presents. Therefore, Stoic philosophy doesn't just inspire us, it provides practical tools to face life's turbulence with calm and composure. Let's begin with the first principle: act in accordance with nature. In one of his lectures, a student told him he wanted to return home because he was ill. Epictetus sent him home, but first he asked the student about the moral propriety of his decision. The lesson from this episode is clear. We must act according to the demands of the present situation. The way of the universe is beyond our control, and there is no need to force circumstances. When we are sick, Epictetus advises us not to impose impossible tasks upon ourselves. Instead, the best course is often to accept the condition and act sensibly for our well-being in that specific moment. Epictetus also highlights that illness may be an obstacle for the body, but not for our capacity of choice, our will. This doesn't mean we should insist on carrying out every duty, which could make things worse. It means, however, that despite physical challenges, we still retain the power to choose between emotional chaos and rational decisions. Applying this principle to situations like intense workplace conflicts or misunderstandings in friendships, Epictetus reminds us to avoid the extremes of raw emotion and cold indifference. In the first case, people are dominated by passion. In the second, people refuse to see the problem, perhaps trying to appear tough.
Losing your calm can lead to impulsive words, aggressive behavior, and rash emotional decisions. This can damage communication and the stability of relationships in the long run. Acting in accordance with nature begins when we recognize the reality of the situation and take necessary steps with a balanced mind. Regardless of how we choose to respond, the essence is understanding that we do not control the actions of others, and our Stoic journey involves accepting these realities while maintaining serenity. How we accept these realities leads us to the second principle: observe your judgments. Epictetus teaches us to think carefully about our thoughts and judgments, especially concerning the world around us. He reminds us that anxiety doesn't come from the events that happen, but from the way we choose to view those situations. Each of us possesses a unique frame of reference from which we decide what we can accept or not. This is normal and often helps us distinguish right from wrong. However, our judgments can become a problem when they make us feel entitled to things we don't naturally have a right to. For example, we might harbor lifelong resentment because we feel entitled to having kind and devoted parents, but perhaps we didn't have that experience. But Epictetus tells us we have a right to have parents, not to control their behavior and personality. This idea applies to many areas of life and challenges us. Why do we agonize over things that are completely natural? In Epictetus's words, distinguish in your own mind and be ready to say, it is not this event that distresses this person, for it doesn't distress another. It is the judgment they make about it. This is especially useful when dealing with difficult moments, like facing unfair criticism, the breakdown of a partnership, or when your efforts seem overlooked by colleagues. When we observe a situation objectively, without letting our expectations or feelings cloud our judgment, we become more capable of dealing with circumstances logically. This prevents us from being dominated by irrational thoughts and emotions. Furthermore, by changing our attitude and ceasing to worry excessively about what we cannot control, we begin to focus more on the things we can change. This helps us face life's challenges more evenly and make progress, which leads us to explore the third principle: focus less on things outside your control. At the opening of the Enchiridion, we find the famous dichotomy of control, an essential concept of Stoic thought. This idea suggests that some things are within our power, while others are not, and we should focus on what is within our power, letting go of what is not. As social beings, we often desire to control the world around us using means like money, authority, physical strength, charm, intellect, or influence. However, Epictetus reminds us that in the end, these are merely instruments that can sway but never completely control. Even when we manage to control some things, there will always be a billion others that escape our grasp. According to Epictetus, what we truly control is our own master faculty, our mind and will, and that is where we should concentrate our efforts. What happens around us is not as important. What we do with it is paramount. We can direct our attention to our own thoughts and emotions instead of constantly fretting over things beyond our control.
This doesn't mean we should isolate ourselves from the world. The Stoics were, in fact, highly engaged people. It means that by practicing Stoicism, we develop a healthy indifference toward external events. This allows us to face occurrences without excessive stress and without losing our composure or sleep. Here enters the concept of amor fati, the love of fate. Accepting the inevitable with gratitude becomes a powerful way to handle circumstances we cannot alter. Napoleon Hill called this persistence in your definite chief aim, staying committed to your inner goal despite external chaos. The final message is clear. By concentrating our energy on what we control internally, we can cultivate a more resilient and serene mindset in the face of life's uncertainties. Part 2. Marcus Aurelius. As Emperor of Rome, Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man on earth in his time. Yet, unlike many leaders before and after him, he was committed to living a life of virtue, consistently following Stoic philosophy. Despite the pressures of leading a vast empire, Marcus Aurelius shared valuable thoughts on how he dealt with daily stress in his work Meditations. Beyond the well-known Stoic practice of negative visualization, he left less famous teachings that offer practical advice for a more tranquil life. Let's focus on them to learn our fourth principle: do less. To become calmer, we must simply do less. This seems counterintuitive, since Stoics value productivity and diligence as a virtue, yet moderation is also a Stoic virtue. So how can we be productive while doing less? Doing less doesn't mean being idle and unoccupied. It means concentrating on what truly matters, making conscious choices, and seeking a balance between diligent action and avoiding excessive worries. Marcus Aurelius observed that people busy themselves with many unnecessary things.
Today, we have access to unlimited entertainment, so it's very easy to get caught up in all sorts of unproductive activities. Doing less goes beyond simply reducing meaningless tasks. It also includes the concept of speaking less. Marcus Aurelius notes that many conversations are empty, lead nowhere, and consume valuable time and energy. Therefore, the essence of this principle is to do the essential, eliminating not only pointless activities, but also the assumptions that they are utterly necessary. A great advantage we gain from this, besides tranquility, is that we can do less and better. Marcus Aurelius emphasizes the importance of constantly questioning the necessity of each action, thereby eliminating not just unnecessary tasks, but the mental burdens attached to them. A useful habit is to make a task list the night before, anticipating what needs to be done the next day. This not only gives a sense of control, but also lightens the mental load by eliminating uncertainty. Planning ahead is an effective way to maintain mental tranquility, as it reduces worries and allows focus on essential actions. So, when Marcus Aurelius advises us to do less, he isn't suggesting we sacrifice the virtue of diligence.
Instead, he's encouraging us to make more conscious and efficient choices, zeroing in on the essential to achieve a calmer, more meaningful life. Brief retreats. Nowhere can you find a more peaceful retreat, more free of interruption, than in your own soul. The words of Marcus Aurelius remind us of a truth repeated by the Stoics, who believed it unnecessary to travel or try to escape in order to calm down. According to the Stoics, wherever we go, we take ourselves with us, and after the euphoria of novelty fades, we return our minds to their normal state. Proof of this is when we travel, and even in a dazzling setting, there's always someone impatient, irritable, or stirring up trouble over minor things. Marcus Aurelius criticized those who tried to escape daily worries by going to quiet places. He considered this practice foolish, questioning why we should travel physically when we can find tranquility by seeking an internal refuge within ourselves. This critique reflects Marcus Aurelius's belief in the importance of finding peace and serenity through inner reflection rather than seeking escape in external locales. Understand this well. It's great to change scenery, but that alone won't make us calm people or bring peace to the soul. Learning to look inward, however, will. What Marcus Aurelius proposes closely resembles the practice of meditation, or even moments of reflection and contemplation to renew the mind and calm daily life. He offers two reflections to consider when briefly retreating into our minds. First, he highlights that things do not cling to the soul. They remain outside, unmoving. Disturbance arises only from within, from our own judgment. Reflect on what disturbs you. What judgment do you hold about the situation? Why does another's action bother you? Second, he reminds us that everything we see is constantly changing and will eventually cease to exist. Contemplating the countless changes we witness, he concludes the world is essentially characterized by change, and our life is shaped by our perception. Hill's mastermind principle echoes here. Aligning your mind with eternal truths, not fleeting phenomena, is true power. These reflections lead us to the next principle. Remember, it all will pass. Marcus Aurelius tells us to keep in mind how quickly things pass us by. We're engrossed in something today, but next week or next month, we might be in something completely different. Stoic philosophy, summarized in the expression memento mori, which means remember you must die, makes us face the reality that life is short and transient. Sometimes we waste days feeding circular thoughts of problems, replaying worries, anguish, and suffering with them over and over. We act as if the things that irritate us will last forever, even though if we lose our calm in the moment, anger is only a temporary emotional state. We have a dedicated video on the channel about controlling anger, which we'll link at the end. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." This was a personal reminder to continue living a life of virtue, and it's valid for reminding us that all the things we believe steal our peace will pass. And if we compare them to the vastness of life, we realize how unimportant they are.
This is applying Hill's principle of overcoming the basic fear of death to put minor annoyances in perspective.
Part 3. Practical exercises. And now, to practice this self-control, I highlight some exercises and techniques below. 1. Don't let your emotions make decisions for you. When we let our emotion decide for us or even control the situation, we are not acting rationally. We forfeit our right to choose and become hostages to our instincts. This can lead to severe consequences. So, in these moments, begin to practice emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is the skill of understanding how you feel, comprehending your own emotional reactions, and seeking to see situations as they really are, without letting them intensely affect or harm your life. Basically, it means avoiding overloading emotions, especially negative ones, onto events, people, or circumstances. Doing this only makes solving problems harder and throws emotions off balance. When something happens, regulate your emotions. See the situation as it is, not through the lens of anger, fear, anxiety, or any other excessive emotion. Emotional control is something that can be learned. When we manage our intense emotions and discover how to express them appropriately, we become able to focus on other tasks and begin to develop patterns of emotional regulation. This makes our lives easier in every way. 2. Mental distancing. This is a useful way to deal with stressful situations or people. You mentally imagine the situation or the person, moving them away until they appear very small and distant. This helps calm the brain. This technique works because the brain has a natural tendency to react strongly to problems that are large and close. By mentally shrinking the image, the brain calms down, reducing the intensity of the emotional response associated with the stressful situation. A variation is to imagine the stressful person speaking with a cartoon voice. This not only diminishes the feeling of threat, but also adds a touch of humor to the situation. This combination works to reduce emotional tension and provides you with a lighter, less damaging view of the event. Mental distancing is like a practical tool you can use when stressed to react in a more balanced and calm manner to problems. 3. Shift your perspective. It's amazing how certain people or topics can undermine our tranquility and leave us distressed even when everything seemed fine, isn't it? When you feel threatened or stressed by a situation, your brain has a corresponding reaction. When you shift your perspective or reappraise the situation as a positive challenge you can't wait to tackle, your brain reacts in a more constructive way. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. The next time you encounter a situation or person that theoretically would steal your calm, change your judgment about it. Even if what happened is something unpleasant, view the situation from a new angle, recognizing that you cannot be disturbed by it. 4. Breathe deeply. Taking a deep breath and counting to 10 alters both your physiology and your brain's chemistry. The extra oxygen helps, and this simple exercise can provide the necessary pause for your reactive brain to retreat while your thinking brain takes over.
Between stimulus and response, the Stoics showed us the third step, the choice to think, to reason. But when we respond automatically to events in our lives, stopping, breathing deeply, and counting to 10 can remind us that we still have the power to choose how we react to what happens to us. 5. Don't take everything personally. A concept widely used in cognitive therapy today is understanding that what belongs to you is yours, and what belongs to others is theirs. It may seem confusing, but it's simple in theory. We often feel hurt easily by the way others act, which is a waste of time. People don't always intend to hurt us, but everyone has their own defense mechanisms. Unfortunately, these strategies can affect whoever is nearby. Therefore, it's essential to invest in self-knowledge and emotional intelligence.
These skills help you not to take others' reactions personally and to maintain calm when things get tough. This aligns with overcoming Hill's fear of criticism. 6. Avoid negative people. If you join a room with 15 studious and dedicated students, you're likely to become the 16th. The environment we live in shapes us. It can encourage us to grow, or it can pull us into decline. Whether you want to or not, the mood of others can be contagious. If you spend the day with someone who's reactive and complaining, you'll gradually become reactive and complaining too. Therefore, avoid reactivity, troublemakers, or those with a need for constant drama as much as possible. Spare yourself from ruminating on subjects that generate worry, frustration, or any other type of emotional drain. It's easier to stay calm when problems happen to other people, not to us. For example, when a friend is disrespected or loses their job unfairly, we always have a ready speech about how to be calm and react properly. However, Stoicism offers tools we can use to adopt the same posture ourselves. Sometimes it can be hard to think and act calmly, but our thoughts strongly influence our feelings and consequently our actions. This is the essence of the mastermind principle. Your mind is your greatest asset. Guard its environment. Let's end this video with a quote from Marcus Aurelius. Keep this thought at hand when you feel a fit of rage coming on. It isn't manly to be enraged. Rather, gentleness and civility are more human and therefore manlier. A real man doesn't give way to anger and discontent, and such a person has strength, courage, and endurance, unlike the angry and complaining. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Choose the courage to be calm. Now take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and if this video in any way resonated with you, leave your comment. Thank you for making it this far.